While most CPAs focus on what happened last year, our friend Dan Mullen at GTG Tax Planning helps you plan for what's next. He's especially sharp with business owners and real estate investors, helping you legally minimize taxes while positioning yourself to look strong when it comes time to qualifying for financing. And because he understands both tax strategy and lending, he helps you make smarter financial decisions before they become expensive ones. Discover how you can look poor to the IRS and rich to the lender. Book a short discovery call today at gtgtax.com. That's gtgtax.com. Thinking about launching a podcast but overwhelmed by all the moving parts? At TurnKey Podcast Productions, we take the hassle out of podcasting so you can focus on the talk, not the tech. From concept to launch, guest booking to post-production, we handle everything. Need a strategy to grow your show and turn guests into clients? Yep, we do that too. DIY or done for you, we've got the solution that fits. Whether you're just getting started or ready to scale, TurnKey is your behind-the-scenes podcast team. TurnKey Podcast Productions. Your voice, your message, fully produced. Learn more at turnkeypodcast.com/contact. That's turnkeypodcast.com/contact.
Hey, don't turn it off yet. Here's what's coming up on the Nice Guys on Business.
Yeah, I think there's two things. One is, as an entrepreneur, you get into the business because it's something you love. That doesn't necessarily translate that you're well-rounded at running a business. And I think that's why so many small businesses fail. You win about how you're passionate about something, but you don't realize all the other things that goes into running that business until you're the one doing it.
Right.
So I think that's a big play in it. And I think the other one is just letting go. It's your baby. You built it. And so you have everything in your head. And so it's hard to let that go and trust other people to do it. And so I think that's the other piece too, is you built it, it's your baby, and that's just a challenge.
No capes. No capes. Well, except for the Nice Guys in Business, of course. But pants. Pants are a must. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by TurnKey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community. Have you ever wondered what happens when a guy who's helped run operations for Walmart, Best Buy, H&R Block, and other massive companies decides to help growing businesses get their acts together? Well, today we're talking to Ron James. He's founder of Opscale Partners and Opscale Exchange. Ron helps businesses stop spending all their time putting out fires, can you imagine that, and start building systems that actually work and actually scale. If you've ever felt like your business is growing faster than your processes, Ron's got a few ideas that might save your sanity. So let's check it out and let's check him out. Let's get into it. Ron, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me.
So let me start here. You weren't, I'm hoping, a guy that was in sixth grade standing on the playground and saying, you know what, I'm going to become a fractional COO or a fractional CFO. What is it that you wanted to be when you grew up to create this problem-solving machine that you have in place now?
That's a great a great question. It's funny because we just talked about Denver, but
right.
I wanted to be a geologist growing up and moved to the Rocky Mountains. So I guess half of that came true. I grew up in a little town in Southwest Missouri, and that was my goal, was to be a geologist and move to the Rocky Mountains. And then around my senior year of high school, I took some accounting classes and some business classes and became part of Future Business Leaders of America.
Yeah.
And it started to kind of change how I felt about what I wanted to do. And then I went to college and took some business classes and started to work stocking dog food at Walmart.
Wow.
That turned into a 10-year career that ended in senior leadership roles there. And so, yeah, obviously many of us have these different dreams as a kid. I loved rocks. I loved minerals. And I thought, I'm just going to be a geologist. I'm going to live in the mountains. So I do live in the mountains now. I just doing something a little different.
Were you always a spreadsheet guy, or are you a guy that happens to come by spreadsheets because you like the relationship that's involved? Because I think what happens a lot of times is we as human beings, we are typically problem solvers. We don't like to sit in the problem. We like to sit in the solution. We might not get there the same way, but some people do that through spreadsheets, and some people do that through really just understanding the emotion and the relationship. Where do you think that you are? Or maybe it's a little of both.
Yeah, it's definitely more in the emotion and the relationship. It's funny. I started at Walmart when you didn't even have spreadsheets and you had inventory in a red binder, and a dot matrix printer that sent the P&L to you. So being,
Understood.
I remember as a store manager on the fourth day of the month, standing there waiting for like 2, 3 hours. Did it print yet? Did it print yet? So I would tell you it's the relationships, being in retail, for so long. Even H&R Block was retail. It's the relationships and really starting to understand people and why they do what they do, and how is the message getting down to people, especially in those big corporations. Everyone goes to these conventions, and even small business owners, you get so excited, and you leave there and you're on a high, and then you get back and it's like, okay, where do I start?
So how do you do when somebody is a chief like a CFO, a chief or a fractional CFO, chief financial officer, or a fractional COO, chief operating officer? It's almost like you have to have a bunch of skills that collide together in order to make that go. So many people that are entrepreneurs, they are very similar to that. They have a bunch of different skill sets. They have their one gift, the thing that they are really good at. What's that thing for you? What's the thing that you feel like is your gift? And this is your chance to, show you can show some ego. It's okay. What's your gift? And then what's the stuff that you struggle through every day, in order to play that role of CFO or COO for an organization?
Yeah, I think my gift is operationalize things at a very young age at Walmart. That was sniffed out. I remember moving from Missouri to New Mexico to open supercenters, and I probably worked at every supercenter in New Mexico, training them how to organize their back rooms, how to keep their freight. As you know, keeping stuff on the shelf was a big deal. And you would go into rooms that were, I remember before Lee Scott was the CEO, we were in Espanol, New Mexico, and we're walking into a back room, and there was just pallets on both sides. There was probably 100 of them.
Right.
And you could tell from the look on his face, he was not happy. And then you go to the floor and there's a lot of outs on the shelves. And so I became a niche then of, hey, this process, then it became, how do I get stuff to the floor, but then translated, hey, how do I get tax returns done? How do I improve conversion rate on a client that walks in or a client that sends us their tax return to do? And it's that being able to do that process and teach it out. You have to get people to buy into the process. Like those are the things that have always been really come easy to me. Things that haven't come easy to me. This is the challenging piece. So, oh man, I would say, as I think about things that haven't come easy to me, it's when I left the big box world and even the small retail,
Mm-hmm.
going to a world where I went to, which was really a small business at Innovation Refunds that turned into a really big business. But I struggled there with one. There was no SOPs. There was no any of those things. At Walmart, they didn't call them SOPs. It was just how you did business.
Right, right.
So going to a company that had none of that, and like you had to start, like there wasn't anywhere a place to start. You had to start from ground zero.
Right.
That was a challenge at first. I learned a lot about that, and a lot about, how do you build those out from the bottom up.
I think a lot of companies, especially entrepreneurs, who's the majority of our audience, I think a lot of companies work without SOP, standard operating procedures, but I think that they grit and grind their way through it. And I think that one of the biggest challenges that companies have is, and my partner and I, we have a small company. There's maybe 17 of us that work at this, and one of the things early on that we realized is that we can't do everything ourselves. We need to bring in other people to do it. So we had to start coming up with, hey, do we have an employee manual? Well, we didn't, but now we have at least the procedures that we need. Okay, if somebody's going to come in and start editing podcast episodes, we can't just say, go ahead and edit. We've got to give them here's the structure by which we're doing that. What do you think it is about entrepreneurs that make it so challenging for them to have their standard operating procedures, or even if you don't call it that, just a document what you do so that you can share it with somebody else so that they'll be able to do it once you hire somebody on board? What is it about entrepreneurs that kind of holds them back from doing that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One is, as an entrepreneur, you get into the business because it's something you love. That doesn't necessarily translate that you're well-rounded at running a business. And I think that's why so many small businesses fail. You win about how you're passionate about something, but you don't realize all the other things that goes into running that business until you're the one doing it.
Right.
So I think that that's a big play in it, and I think the other one is just letting go. It's your baby. You built it, and so you have everything in your head, and so it's hard to let that go and trust other people to do it. And so I think that that's the other piece too, is you built it, it's your baby, and that's just a challenge.
So when you were working with the large organizations, when you were working for the Best Buys and the Walmarts and the H&R Blocks, and obviously they have different deliverables, and H&R Block is more of a service, Walmart is more of a, is it all, what's on the shelf and inventory. And then you started your own business. How did you learn from what the lessons that you were teaching within those organizations? How did you learn to bring that to your organization? And then how did you learn to start to let go of some of those things that were not in your zone of genius, that were more of your, I got to do this, but I can't do this because I really need to spend more time on the business than in the business. So talk about that transition from the big corporate world to your doing your own thing.
Yeah, it's I have two businesses. I have Opscale Partners and Opscale Exchange. Opscale Exchange is probably where I challenge the most with that. And it's because it is my baby. I'm building it, and I'll get into the weeds, and I'll be like, man, what am I so much in the weeds? I mean, yesterday was the day I was on calls for like 8 hours, and then I'm like, man, I got like 4 hours of work still to do because I was in the weeds all day, and so I still have to step back and follow my own processes. In fact, this morning I was with my strategic ops manager. I was like, all right, we need to build a playbook on this. Why do I have it documented and that type of stuff? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's you get caught up in it. I think the biggest challenge is that it becomes, you get engulfed in it, and the next thing you know, you got sucked into the day to day, and then all of
Right.
a sudden it's 5 o'clock, and you're like, what did I really get accomplished today? And so scheduling stuff out, I think the biggest thing that I've always done is position things on my calendar so that I don't let people fill it up. I protect strategic times on my calendar. I schedule a lunch every day, and I protect those. And I make sure, because if you don't protect them, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And if anything, it's just a chance to get a breath and get caught up on other things. So I think that that's one of the best things that I've done is I do an hour of strategic time in the morning and in the afternoon, and then I schedule myself a lunch every day. Even if I don't do anything for that lunch, but get caught up on stuff, I make sure that I have those 3 hours set aside for the strategy work and working on the business.
Let's play doctor for just a second, Ron. And you're in a position to heal a symptom that I come in with, and I'm a business owner, and I'm trying to work my way through some of the challenges that I have as a new business owner. Let's say somebody that's less than six figures, making 30 or $40,000 a year. It's a side hustle. They're figuring out how to get out of their corporate world and into their side hustle full time. What are some of the symptoms that someone is experiencing? And I think you may have just said one, and maybe not even meaning to, but you said one. It's like, hey, I find myself working in the business a lot as opposed to on the business. But what are some
Yeah.
of those symptoms that they're coming to you saying, I'm having this problem, here's my sickness, and here's my symptom, and you're the doctor. Give me the next thing that you would share with them.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest one is I'm too much working in the business instead of on the business. And you got to come up for air and look at what's happening the next 30, 60, 90 days. I'm a big proponent of 30, 60, 90-day planning, making sure of that. I'm a big proponent of accountability coaches. Fractional COO can be that. It can be, a mentor. When you leave the corporate world and corporate, you always have somebody that's there when you're on your own, there's really no one following up to make sure you did what you said you were going to do that week.
True.
And I think that, having an accountability coach is good that will help you do that. I think having someone fractionally that comes in and looks at your business with a different lens can help you with that. But really staying focused in that 30, 60, 90-day plan. What does my strategy look like? And then plan your time every Monday or every Friday, whichever day works for you. And did I get what I set out to do this week? Done. And really do that so you're not spinning in circles.
When does heart come in and when does hustle come in? So when does heart come in and when does hustle stop? And when does hustle got to be the word of the day? And when does heart come in?
Man, head, heart, hands. We used to say that all the time at Best Buy. That was
Really?
a big part of
Okay.
the culture
Not
there
know
was
that.
head, heart, and hands. And I would tell you, the hustle, the hands piece of that comes in when if you really need to lean in and help someone, teach someone, if you're not getting what you need from your sales team, understanding what their roadblocks are and getting that. And I just had a conversation with my sales team today about that and really tried to lean in and understand, hey, what are the obstacles you're having? Our leads weren't as good last week. And really tried to lean in a little bit more than I normally do. So I think that's, put your hands in when you see a part of your business is starting to not produce like you wanted to. Uh, your heart is probably the hardest one because it's in it all the time because it's your passion. Whatever you're doing, your heart's in there, and so you got to be cautious with, I always just say I throw that head in there because you got to make decisions with your head, not your heart.
Yeah.
And that's not always easy. We do that in lots of relationships, not just business. And so making sure that you're clarifying that and even thinking about things through head. Hey, is this my head or my heart making this decision?
We have a long time listener. His name is Sean Carpenter. Sean, I'm going to give you a shout out for this because this is such an integral part of my day to day. He's put a saying together. Maybe I think he's created this, but if he didn't, Sean, I don't know who else would have because I've heard it from you the longest. Business is about building relationships, solving problems, and having fun. And I want you to. We'll dissect that for just a second with you, Ron. Let's talk about building relationships. Who are some of the important relationships, whether it's name or position, some of the important relationships in your life, and then we'll move on to solving problems and having fun. But for
Yeah,
now, what are some of the important relationships in your life?
yeah. Relationships are important. I learned that at a young age. I always keep strong people in my network. It was funny. I took my first job as a store manager at Walmart, and my DM, Sean Evans, who recently passed away of cancer, he came in and he's like, I want you to know something about every employee.
Mm,
I had 350 employees.
wow.
Uh, and back then, of course, you had a 3x5 note card. So I would
Correct.
write notes. That way I would know. And then eventually I got to where, hey, Sally, how was Ron's soccer game this weekend?
But it's
And
got to
and
feel
I
so
knew
good,
then,
though. It's got to feel so good for them.
oh, it's huge. And it was genuine. It really was. It was genuine. And so, I took that through life. Gosh, man, some of the biggest mentors and things. I will tell you, I wouldn't have started my own business without some of those. Kip Knight's probably one of my biggest one. Kip is former president of H&R Block, president of marketing at eBay. And Kip, I got to know him at H&R Block, and we've always kept a really close connection. Diane Cooley, who was my boss at H&R Block, Sean, who I just mentioned, has been a big mentor. I have my first manager at Walmart, John Boyer, in a little town in Neosho, Missouri. We still go to a Chiefs game once a year and still talk. So it's important to keep those in there, keep it well versed. It's important to not burn bridges and make sure that you never know when you can help someone or they can help you.
Let's move on to solving problems. So, what are some of the problems that you really enjoy helping resolve, and what are some of those that are you're most challenged with as it relates to either growing your business or growing somebody else's business?
Yeah, I would tell you that the challenges that I love to solve are something where I can see results quickly from it. Coming into Denver as a manager at H&R Block as a regional director, we didn't have a big drop-off process. H&R Block's process is that you go in and you sit and you watch people do your tax returns and you sit for an hour. And when I started going through offices and everyone's playing, the families are playing Candy Crush, they're trying to corral their kids. And I was like, they don't want to sit here. They're playing Candy Crush. They're not listening to the tax preparer.
Right.
And so we really perfected a drop off model. This was on spreadsheets in the beginning. Wasn't a big spreadsheet guy, but it was the only way to keep track of what was happening until we could get the big ship steered in a way that could automate the process a little bit for us, which we did, and help grow the business. And it was something that we saw results from quickly. It made tax preparers more efficient. You didn't need as many tax preparers, so your staffing was better because now you didn't have appointments. You're just working on work that came in.
Yeah.
And so that helped. I think, things that are tough to solve. I have an accountability partner in my business, and I told him the other day, which is maybe what a lot of small business are owning is, man, it is harder than I thought to get a qualified lead and to get a client when you're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest challenge. Is how do you do that? What does that look like? How do you get that brand recognition? And so that's been my biggest challenge is, and he's a great accountability partner because I do put out, hey, this is what I'm going to execute this week. And when we talk, he's like, okay, tell me how that went.
Yeah.
And when I didn't do it, I get a butt chewing. And when I did it and it worked, it's, hey, great job. And if it didn't work, okay, what did you learn? And so I'm really starting to take that into, okay, what did I learn about where I'm going to get leads? Am I going to the right spots? Am I really being honest with myself and doing what I say I'm going to do to get those leads?
The biggest challenge with leads is, and we've experienced this so as well with TurnKey, which has led to some great partnerships that we've had through the years. But we know we're great at podcast production. We know we're exemplary at customer support and customer service. We know we suck at marketing. We just, having a name like TurnKey really gets us a lot of inbound leads, but they're not qualified. So now we've got to qualify the lead. So that is a challenge that we have as well. I think business development is one of the hardest. Somebody might say, because I don't have any problem with selling. I actually enjoy the initial phases of selling, which is more like educating. But it's really hard to get that marketing plan in place to get the phone to ring. I'd love the solution to that, but right now the solution to that has been having these great partnerships, which is totally fine. And with companies like Walmart, Best Buy, and H&R Block on your resume, you probably didn't experience the same brand recognition, name recognition through the years as you do with as a guy that owns and founded his own company that might not be as synonymous with success as somebody like Walmart, Best Buy, or H&R Block.
Yeah, it's definitely that's the biggest challenge. And hey, why would I do business with you? That's a big challenge. I think having that elevator pitch as to why has been a big help.
Yeah.
Making sure hey, here's what I bring to the table that maybe somebody else doesn't bring to the table. I've run $100 million stores. I've run $100 million regions with over 3,000 employees. So there's a lot of different things that I bring to the table, but it's still, building that reputation that you have when you're in a corporate world is a lot different.
So the final leg of that triad of building relationships, solving problems is having fun. So what's some of the stuff that you do for fun, both professionally and personally?
Yeah, I would tell you professionally having fun is, I am in this, for whatever reason, I found this passion in this tax world and helping small businesses find business credits and incentives to help them out. That's what Opscale Exchange is all about. And so I'm super passionate about that. I love it when I help a small business save money on their taxes, get to where they're in the Bezos and Trump eras where they don't have to pay any money. That's the goal.
That's good.
Man, personally, we talked about a little while ago, but I have two teenage boys. So sports, I coach my son's baseball team. I coach football and scouting. We're very involved in scouting. So we're camping and hiking here in Colorado in the mountains at least one weekend a month all summer. I have drawn the line as I've gotten older. I don't camp after November 1st and before April 1st. They're old enough they can do the winter campouts on their own.
Yeah, totally get it. Totally get it. Okay, what should I be asking you that I'm not asking you? We've talked about Opscale Partners a little bit. We've talked about Opscale Exchange as well. Wherein lies your passion? What's the thing that really drives you on your daily basis as you are, helping your customers solve their problems?
Yeah, I think, what drives me is the wins of where we can create efficiencies, where I can help them see where they could bring on more people and get better results, where I can help those CEOs step back a little bit and see the big picture. That's really passionate to me. And like I said, through Opscale Exchange, anytime I can help somebody find some credits and stuff and they can get money back from the government that they didn't know they had coming, that's always a big win.
One of the things I know that you are offering, not just our Nice Guy community, but for those that are visiting your website as well, a strategy call, which is awesome because I'll tell you, one of the challenges that we have in today's AI-centered world is that just go to my website and you can chat with the robot. You know, that not that that's bad. That's a good thing. It helps eliminate a lot of tire kickers and helps you work with qualified people. But one of the things that Ron is doing is he's offering to our Nice Guy community a strategy call. We're going to put a link in the show notes. Walk me through what a strategy call sounds like and feels like so that my audience understands what they're all about.
Yeah, it's a call where we kind of break down your business. I have a few questions I ask you about how the business is going. What do you see as your biggest wins? What do you see as your biggest opportunities? We'll talk a little about SOPs at that point and those types of things. But it's really a kind of a deep dive into your business. My goal is to come out. A lot of times, what I do is I really give folks a plan of what they can do to fix their business. And if they can go do that on their own, that's great. If many of them look at it and we're like, look, I would rather have you help me do this, which obviously is a great win for me. So, but it's really about learning about their business, learning about what their headwinds are and their tailwinds so that I can help them grow.
And you can see, Nice Guy community, that Ron's bringing the genuine self to the podcast episode today. He was just as nice and smiling a guy as he is on the podcast as before I hit the record button. We were talking about his kids. We were talking about his journey into Denver and all of the fun things that he's been doing with Eagle Scouts. He is an Eagle Scout, which means that he will be the next president of the United States. Obviously, that's coming up next. Anyway,
does anyone want that job?
I don't know not right now. Probably not right now. I'm not. This is not at all a political show. But yeah, I don't think anybody wants that job right now. Okay, well, I think we have given our Nice Guy community its fill. Is there anything again that I should be asking you that I'm not? I didn't give you a chance to answer that question before I went on to another question. But what do you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, no, I'm excited to help you guys. I'm what you see. I'm very genuine. I'm going to tell it how it is. It may not always come across the way you want to see it, but you got to have somebody that's willing to tell you, hey, this is what it is, but someone that you can trust and know that they're there to help you.
Excellent. Well, Ron, I so appreciate you bringing your expertise and your message to our episode today, and looking forward to getting some positive feedback from our audience. Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Ron James. All of his information, including access to his strategy call. That strategy call link will be right in the show notes. Adults, parents, if you don't know how to find those show notes, ask your kids. Kids, if you don't need the strategy call, make sure your parents are aware of what it is so that they can go get the strategy themselves. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. That's their story, and they're sticking to it.